All right, so now we're going to look at this serverless computing. So this sections we're going to look at Azure App Service plans, Azure App Services, Container Services, Azure Kubernetes Services. So these topics we're going to look at. So serverless computing means without servers, that means you do not need to provision any servers, but simply you'll be able to deploy your applications. For example, we deployed our these applications. With that one, we just did right now. What's that IP address? So we just deployed one of the web servers. So basically, you need some servers behind that. So we had our Ubuntu servers. Top of that, we had these web servers. But serverless means without having any servers, we simply can deploy our applications in Azure cloud platform. So these sections we're going to discuss these topics. So first we're going to discuss Azure App Service plans. Part of this one, we're going to discuss Azure App Service plans, App Service plan pricing tiers, App Service plan scaling, App Service plan scale out, and we're going to look at App Service plan. So at first, we're going to create plans. Plans, it means altogether what kind of resources we want and what kind of resources we're going to use for our applications deployment, what will be their price, and based on our requirements, we'll be able to create the plans. And later on, when you deploy our applications, we can add any of the plans. So plan will contain a specific set of resources. It defines a set of compute resources for a web app to run, determines performance, price, and features. One or more apps can be configured to run in the same app service plan. Region where compute resources will be created. Number of virtual machines instances. Size of virtual machines instances. And pricing tier. So these things we'll be able to set up inside these plans. We have app service plan pricing tiers. We have free tiers, shared, basic, standard, premium, isolated. So we got many plans. So if you'd like to deploy some web applications, mobile or API apps, up to 10 of them will be able to deploy in these tiers, 100 in the shared tiers, unlimited in these other tiers. And disk space, if we use the shared tiers, we'll be able to use only 1 GB, free 1 GB, shared 1 GB. But if you use some other tiers, you'll have more storage space. Auto scaling, free, shared, and basic, it doesn't support any auto scaling, but standard, premium, and isolated, they support this auto scaling. Deployment slots, you can create any other slot or copy, but for standard, we can create multiple copy, and then we can change those instances. We'll be able to deploy for productions. We'll be able to deploy the same thing for testing environment. We'll be able to create multiple slots. So in here, it supports up to 5 slots. This one, 20 slots, and isolated 20 slots. Maximum instances. So under this plan, you may have up to 3 VMs, 10 VMs, 30 VMs, or 100 VMs. So shared compute, run apps on the same Azure VM as other app service apps, and the services cannot scale out. But dedicated compute, basic, standard, and premium, run apps in the same plan in dedicated Azure VMs. Isolated, runs apps on dedicated Azure VMs in dedicated Azure virtual networks. Now, app service plan scaling, we have manual scaling, custom auto scales. Scale up, change the app service plan, more hardware, CPU, memory, disk, more features, dedicated virtual machines, staging slots, auto scaling, so it supports in here. Scale out means increase the number of VM instance. Manual, fixed number of instances, or auto scale, you can have rules around that and schedules around that. So based on your requirements, you can have more virtual machines or less virtual machines, and you can schedule them. In a particular period of time, maybe you need more resources, time-based resources you'll be able to set up as well. So scale up means resources, you're updating the resources. Scale out means you working with the number of VM instances. Now app service plan scale out. Instance name, instance limit 1, maximum 2, default 1. So adjust available resources based on the current demand. Improves availability and fault tolerance. Scale based on a matrix, CPU percentage, memory percentage, HTTP request. Scale according to a schedule, weekdays, weekends, times, and holidays. Can implement multiple rules, combine metrics and schedules. Don't forget to scaling. So part of the scaling, or part of the scale out, we can manage these steps. We can create rules, we can manage the number of instances or number of VM we want, and also we can schedule them as well. So we're going to look at later on how to create app service plan. Now, Azure App Services, part of this one, we have Azure App Services, creating an app service, continuous deployment, deployment slots, creating deployment slots, securing an app service, custom domain names, backup and app service, application insights. So these are the features we have under our app services. Azure App Services, it includes web apps, API apps, mobile apps, functions apps. So different kind of applications you'll be able to deploy in here. Fully managed environment enabling high productivity development. Platform as a service offering for building and deploying highly availability cloud apps for web and mobile. So they provide us this platform. So top of that, we can deploy our applications. Platform handles infrastructure, so developers focus on core web apps and services. Developer productivity using .NET, .NET Core, Java, Python, and a host of others. Provides enterprise-grade security and compliance. So creating an app service, name must be unique. When you create any applications, we need to have a name. Access using Azure Websites.net. can map to a custom domain, publish code, runtime stack, and publish Docker containers. So this stuffs whether you want to upload some codes or whether you want to have a container services. So you can choose. So code is the most common options. And then runtime stack means what kind of platform you want to use. And the backend, what kind of operating systems you want, Linux or Windows. Regions and app service plan. App service plan, which we talked about in previous sections. When you create that app service plan, we'll be able to add in here. Now, continuous deployment, work in a single source control. So whatever code updates are pushed to the source control, then the websites or web app will automatically pick up the updates. A continuous deployment workload publishes the most recent updates from a project. Use the portal for continuous deployments from GitHub, Bitbucket, or Azure DevOps. So that means you can download those codes from this collaboration portal called GitHub. So GitHub, Bitbucket, Azure DevOps. So developers mostly use those collaboration tools in order to share their codes, also save their codes, and then they actually download from there. And same thing we'll be able to do from this Azure portal. Let's say your developer, they done all the coding and stuffs. After that, they will save all this information in this cloud portal called GitHub. And from the GitHub, we'll be able to download. So developer one store coding over there, developer two stores their code over there, and we can deploy website from the Azure side. So GitHub and Bitbucket is quite popular. Developer, they use these tools, and Microsoft, now we have Azure DevOps. That's another portal. So this is collaboration portal. When multiple developers, they work together, they actually save all the information in a single repository or locations. So those kind of locations is called GitHub or Bitbucket or Azure DevOps. Now deployment slots. So deployment slots means we can create multiple slots for our applications. For example, one slot for testing purposes, one slot for production purposes, like that. Deploy to a different deployment slots depends on service plan. Validate changes before sending to productions. Deployment slots are live apps with their own host names. Avoid a cold start, eliminates downtime. Fallback to a last known good configurations. Auto swap when pre-swap validations is not needed. This one we have looked at before. If you have standard, premium, and isolated, then you can create multiple slots. Now creating deployment slots, a new slot can be empty or cloned. So when you clone, pay attention to the settings. Slot is specific app settings and connections strings. Continuous deployment settings, app service authentication settings. So not all settings are sticky, such as endpoints, custom domains, SSL certificates, scaling. So those kind of settings, they may be remaining same, but some settings you may have different. Like when you copy from one to another one, so that time we need to look at whether we want exactly same settings or we'll have some changes. We need to pay attention over there. And after that, review and edit your settings before swapping. It's kind of like you have testing slot and you have production slot. So testing slot, you may have a one copy, but you can clone it and create another copy. After that, you can make some changes and then you can swap with your production slot as well. Now, securing an app service authentications, enable authentications default and enables login with a third-party identity provider. So this app service, it can be authenticated from third-party provider as well. For example, Microsoft account, Facebook, Google, Twitter. So you can integrate third-party authentication service with our apps as well. Then security, troubleshoot with diagnostic logs, failed request, app login. We can add SSL certificates such as HTTPS, define a priority order, allow deny list to control network access to the app, store secrets in the Azure key vault. So this kind of security features we'll be able to manage for our applications. Mostly like with our applications, we can add SSL certificates. We can purchase our SSL certificates or you can add one. If you have already SSL certificate, simply you'll be able to add in here. Custom domain names. So when you create any applications, it will have a Azure portal name. But if you'd like to have your own name, you need to redirect Azure name to your name. So redirect the default web app URL, validate the custom name, domain name in Azure, use the DNS registry for your domain provider, create a CNAME or a record with the mapping. Ensure app service plan supports custom domains. So usually when you have your, when you get your applications, when you run your applications in here, it will be under Azure name, such as azure.windows.net, like that. But if you'd like to use your own domain, you need to direct the default Azure domain to your domain. And we can create CNAME. CNAME means canonical name. Canonical name, with that we can point one name to another name. For example, we have create one of the app service called app1.windows.core.net. This is their website. This is like Microsoft hosting website, but if you'd like to add our one, for example, we want to say www.contoso.com, like that. So we can deploy this one, but we can create CNAME. So this one will be actual name, but we can create CNAME. CNAME means canonical name. When you create CNAME, so this name will point to that name. And these things we do in DNS, the DNS servers. But when you deploy our applications in Azure portal, we'll have the options to provide the CNAME. But when you provide your own domain, Azure need to verify your domain name. That's why you need to create some resource record inside your domain. Backup and as an app service, to create app backups manually or a schedule. Backup the configurations, file content, and database connected to the app. It requires standard or premium plan. So backups can be up to 10 gig of apps and database content. So you can up to 10 gigabit applications, you'll have a backup. Configure partial backups and exclude items from the backup. Restore your app on demand to a previous state or create a new app. So we have the backup options. Application insights. Insights means you'll be able to see details inside your applications. So you'll be able to monitor this one properly. Application insights, request rates, deny rates, response times, and failure rates. You'll be able to see those variables. Page views and load performance. You'll be able to see those informations. User and session counts, performance counters, diagnostics and exceptions. You'll be able to see all those informations from insights. This is a very good monitoring option. So that means you can deploy your applications. After that, you'll be able to see all these stuffs. In this way, you'll be able to verify how is your applications running in the cloud, how many people they are visiting your page, whether any issues happened over there or not, how is the performance. You'll be able to see all those statistics. So creating an app service, we're going to look at how to create these steps. Let's have a look. So this is our portal. We'll go to Azure Resources. At first, we're going to create plans. So we got our resource group. We're going to use that one. So let's find out the plans, app service plan. This is app service plans. Okay. So at first, we're going to create app service plans. First thing, we need to select our resource group. I'm going to select RG10. App service plan details. It's my app service plan 1. Then operating systems, Linux or Windows, you can select any of them. Let's say Linux is okay. Region, so region shouldn't be this one. Part of that one should be East US, RG10. And this is the pricing tier, SKU and size. This is like how many CPU power and memory you're going to use. If you want, you can change from here. So you got productions. Productions, you got multiple pricing tiers. 210 total ACU. So that's a Azure compute units. Dedicated compute resources used to run applications deployed in the Azure service plan. So you get up to 210 total Azure compute units, 3.5 GB memory, and cost is $101 per month estimated. So you got many other options in here. And DevOps sites, I think in your sites, you may have only this one. Recommended pricing tiers is this one, or maybe 100 total ACU, maybe that one. So if you got basic one, you don't have much options, but if you go to this one, it has custom domain, SSL certificate, manual scaling. So those kind of features we'll have under that one. So you have productions and isolated. This is another tiers. So I'll select the default one. I'll leave it default. Click next. Review plus create. So basically, app service plan is selecting your operating systems and cost, pretty much what kind of size you want. You select the size and click create. Right, this is our app service plan is ready now. So applications, currently we are not running any applications in here. We have some storage space, networking, skill up, skill out. Under skill out, you can set up instance count, like how many virtual machines you want in the backend. Maybe you want two. Just select that one. Or custom skill, if you select that one, you can configure many other stuffs. You can apply some rules, and you can change these instance details. Like how many default is one virtual machines at the moment, but you can configure, let's say 5. So you can work around that areas. Based on your requirements, you can increase the virtual machines. But if you'd like to have fixed, you can have fixed as well, but you can have customs as well. That means if you need more resources, you can add more virtual machines over there. And also you can schedule them as well. With particular period of time, maybe you need more resources, you can select that one as well. Monitoring, part of that, we can create some alert rules. Let's say if you have high CPU utilizations, then you may get some notifications. You can set up some um, uh, conditions as well. Signal types, what kind of CPU percentage? If it is greater than average threshold is, let's say 75%, then conditions, aggregate granularity, frequency of elevations 1 minute. So whenever the average CPU percent is greater than 75%, then you can do something. Then you'll get alert. So click done. So whenever the average CPU percent is greater than 75%, then you'll get some alert. But see, for that services, there's a little charge. Action group means we can add who will get this alert. So add action group, create action group, and say my action group. Notifications, what kind of notifications? Maybe we want email notifications. Email, just need to put the email. Click OK. You can add some action types. So if CPU utilization is high, what you like to do with that? You can perform some automatic task. You can set up, that options as well. But this is optional. You don't have to do these configurations. You can add ticketing system as well. That's okay. So action types, few actions you can take. So they are all application related things. So that means you can trigger some activity for your applications by selecting these actions. So that's how you can create alert. My alert rule one. Just need to have a name for that, and you can add. So you can set up alerts as well. So this is we creating our app service plan. So part of app service plan, we have applications, skill up, skill down, and also monitoring part. So they are the major things. And now we already selected our plan, like what kind of resources we're going to use for our applications. We have selected in here. Now we're going to work with applications. You can go to menu and see the app services. You can do it from here as well. App services, create app service, resource group, RG10, and instance name, we say my web app 1. That is my application's name. Oh, I'll say Z my web app 1. After that, coding, I'll select something, maybe say PHP. So I want to deploy some PHP code. Operating systems will be Linux, region, East US, part of my RG10. This is the region. So my web application's name and code type, platform, operating systems, and region. Now app service plan, see, is already selected, my app service plan 1. So from here, you can select your app services. And deployment preview, monitoring. This one, leave it default, but see, we talked about application insights, you can enable and disable. Tags, review plus create, and create. So we're creating this web app. Click on go to resources. So this is my web app. So this web service is actually up and running. If I click on browse, see, hey app service developers, your app service is up and running. So we deployed one of the PHP. So underneath we have the Linux machines and on top of the PHP platform, and we have some PHP configurations such as this page is built top of the PHP. This is their default services. But if we edit, then we can deploy our own configurations over there. But it just for testing purposes, we can see that we have created our applications, it's up and running. So activity log, access control, they're the default stuffs. If we go down, yeah, so many different monitoring features we have in here. Now, see, follow our quick start guide and deploy your first PHP app in minutes. So you got more options in here. So if it is a Linux hosting, you can deploy this one. But for that, you need to install Git and install PHP. But in order to deploy this one, these things need to install in the local machines. And then after that, you'll be able to download the sample, and then you'll be able to upload that steps. Then you'll be able to see these things. Yeah, still you need a local Git to deploy these steps. But we can see our browsers already. So it's up and running. So that's good. So deployment slots. Currently, see, we have the one slot. Its name is productions, but we can create a copy. So you can say add slot, name it test slot. And copy from there. Add. So it's kind of like I'm copying the same applications. I'm copying another file. So now I'll have two copies. So one can be for productions, and other can be for testing purposes. And later on, if we happy with our testing, apps, we can swap, and then we can deploy our testing apps, and we make our production as test applications. See, now I got two. One is like this is currently in productions, and this is the backup one. Backup one, if you want to check, and if you browse, this is your backup one. See the test lot? So that's also up and running. So I got two slots. So you can swap in here. So swap. Your source is your test, that one, and target is your production one. So you can swap. So it's kind of like a multiple versions you can have, and you can swap based on your requirements. And so updating will be a lot of easier. For example, you need some updates. So you create another slots and you do some updates over there, and then you simply swap over. So in this way, there'll be no downtime. Successfully swap completed. So it pulls this one and we refresh. You can check logs as well related with our application services. Oops, it's a bit slow at the moment, but now this one second slot should be fine. So currently, I think it will take a bit of time. I'll go to overview again. Browse. See now directly z my web app.test, that one is running. So after swap over, new applications, that one is running. So that is the advantage. So you can create more slots. Like you got now 2 slots, you can add another one and you can copy from one of them. Then you can name it, and after that, you'll be able to deploy whichever you want. So deployment centers, so that's where you can upload some codes. You can upload some codes from GitHub. So we selected PHP, so some PHP code will be able to. Authorize means you need to log into GitHub. Then you'll be able to collect the coding and stuff from GitHub. So you can select GitHub, Bitbucket, local Git, external Git. FTP credentials. So let's say I'm doing a bit of FTP stuffs. If I'd like to deploy something, I can use that. I need that FTP username and password. See the username and password? I need these things to connect to these applications. So we got pretty much everything. This is the FTP endpoints, site locations, and this is the username and password. So from Bitbucket, GitHub, you can deploy your code, or via FTP, you'll be able to push your code. So there are many other features. We have authentication features. You can add identity provider, like which provider you want to add for authentications. Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Twitter. You can add those identity provider. And backup, so you can have backup as well. You can configure the backup, but in order to configure the backup and stuff, so you need to have, a backup vault, storage, and we need to configure schedule and stuffs. Custom domains, if you'd like to change the name. So now if you browse your applications, your name is this one, Z my web app 1-test.plot. Then this is just Microsoft site name, but if you like to have your own name, you can configure in here. So add custom domain. And let's say I say contoso.com. So this domain name need to be valid domain name. Once you validate, and then yeah, if you select CNAME in here, so instead of displaying that name over there, our applications will display this websites. But I need to validate. Validations means if I'm the owner of this domain, I'll have a username and password. So it's basically I need to go to that domain provider and they have a DNS locations. I need to put these text files over there. If I put these informations over there, then I'll be able to verify that I'm the owner of the domain. If I'm owner of the domain, then only on that time we'll be able to use our custom domain. But Microsoft will provide us the free under their name like that. But you can configure with our with CNAME. If you'd like to have certificate like HTTPS, SSL certificate, we can actually bind from here. We can buy certificate. Add SSL binding. So that means you can add SSL certificate with your domain as well. After that, scale up, scale down, those things you'll be able to do as well. This one we don't have to do because this is we have done already with our app service plan. Part of our app service plan, we already configured this one. So from the application side, we do not need to make any changes. This is our app service plan, which is added with these applications. App service plan will pick up the stubs, utilizations. Right, so you scale up, scale out, this sort of things you'll be able to do from here. And monitoring metrics, this is for individual applications. But previously we configure our applications plan. Let's say the same plan can be used for many different applications. Let's say you have 10 different applications. You can simply add that app service plan.